Good afternoon. It is 12:30 p.m. on Friday the 26th of March 2021. My name is Aaron Hunt, I'm a partner here at Stacey Hamilton. I head up the Migration Partners team. As always, this video is not provided as legal advice. It is just our commentary on what's happening with immigration here in New Zealand. If you want legal advice, get in contact with us. Our email is in the description below, visa@shlaw.co.nz. If we are busy, we may take a couple of days to respond. Clients do get priority over inquiries. That is how it is. So we will come back to you though as soon as we can. Now, we've just had a session today with Immigration New Zealand, a webinar which I'm sure a lot of you were aware was taking place. There was a lot of hope amongst the community would get some information about various visa types, but in reality there was very little in it. And we'll get straight to it. There was no details about skilled migrant category. What they did provide we already knew, but we will come to that later in this video. Now, the big news was, if you can call it big news, because again it was a little bit of information, was on the new online application system, and from that we get more information about the new employer-assisted work visa. We sort of assume a few things about the new visa from what they said about the new system. So first is the new online system. This will be the system that all applications are eventually made through, and this will include residence applications, transfers, variations, and all the other types of visas. They're looking at moving everything across to this new system within the next 18 months, so it is a long-term process. The system is in development. It is, I think, almost ready to roll out. The system will provide more automation to help Immigration New Zealand with providing more consistency between applications, which is often a big thing, because you want to see the same decisions made on each application based on the same rules. We also expect that it will allow for faster modifications of the system. So, for example, with the current CPVV applications, it's very clear the visa form wasn't created for CPVV, but they've sort of modified another visa to try and fit in the gaps. Where the new system will hopefully be able to be adjusted better, move quicker to cover sort of new visa application types or to modify when required. Now, the dates provided so far is that visitor visas will go on the new system from July 2021. Now, this does not mean that visitor visas will open on that date, as the border will still likely be closed. But of course, there is some visitor visas that do take place for people who are already in New Zealand, typically those who are on another visa type which comes to an end, so a work visa and it's coming to an end, or they lose their job, or they're in a partnership-based visa and the partnership comes to an end, breaks up. So they move to something else, being a visitor visa, to sort of tide them over to either leave the country or find another visa type. So we do see some visitor visas still going through now. But the July date is not an indication of the border opening. The border will not be opening in July. Of that we are 100% certain. It's just the date they're going to move the visitor visa applications from the current AMS, the current system, across to this new software. This may though include CPVV applications. They are technically visitor visas, so we may see CPVVs moving across to the new system, or because it may be coming to the end of that CPVV regime a few months after that, we may see them stay on the current system and then just have the new visitor visas, the sort of general visitor visas, going to the new system. We'll have to wait and see in that. The next one will be student visas and family-based visas, which will go on the new system from October 2021. We would expect that the new work visas, which we're about to discuss in a moment, will also go through the new system, but they didn't want to give us a month that they expect to be in the new system, and most likely hasn't been decided yet. They're probably still looking at how they're going to get this put into place. So we're going to talk about that now just a little bit. So this is the visa that replaces the 6 work visas. So where previously we talked about an essential skills work visa, or you might see me write ESWV if you see me on the forums or on YouTube, it's being replaced with an employer assisted work visa, an EAWV. So that's the new visa, the employer assisted work visa. which replaces most prominently the Essential Skills Work Visa and the Work to Residence Work Visa. Now, you may have seen people creating a lot of fear in the forums about that these are coming in the middle of the year, these are coming in July, and we see a lot of online videos from some people about this taking place, when in reality, well, honestly, we've had nothing on these visas for this entire year, no new information, and they will not come out in July. The original July 2021 date, or the middle of the year 2021 was the date originally they gave us, was based on Immigration New Zealand providing details on the process to us late last year. Since then, despite all the videos we've seen from others, there has been no further information on the process apart from today, where they gave us tiny bits of information. With it being a massive change, we're going to go over in a moment what that change is and what we can read from that. This cannot be rushed. This cannot be announce it and put it into place a few weeks later. Immigration New Zealand originally planned to give employers at least 6 months notice before making the change, but they haven't yet announced what those changes will be or notice of how it's going to take place, the process, that sort of thing. So today we found out that INZ is currently finalising the policies for the EAWV, the new work visa. These will be released in April, so next month. However, they won't release the details of the fees until July. Now, the process does remain a three-stage process. The employer gets accredited through an employer check process, is what they called it. They haven't said yet what this is, but it will differ from the current accreditation process, which is a lot more in depth. This will be a simpler process, but we don't know what's going to be involved in it. Then there will need to be for the employer, a need for the employer to show that they have tried to find a citizen or resident to do the job. And then the visa application itself is filed by the applicant to the employee to get the employer-assisted work visa. So with the employee then to go through this approval phase, and no detail released yet on what that's expected from that. But we do expect it to take several months to do, because there'll be tens of thousands of employers all applying at once to do this accreditation process. And of course we don't know what the fees are. They get released in July. We can be fairly confident that the new visa won't be in place in the middle of 2021, because it's just not going to be possible. Which we've been saying that for a while now, despite these other sort of fearmongers. More likely this will be sort of an end of year thing, possibly even a start of 2022 thing. That will then give employers sort of 6 months, possibly a little bit more, to get the accreditation in place, to get this process in place. Now, from what has been said previously, the 6 work visas that it replaces will remain in place until it is rolled out, and there may be some overlap, depending on how confident Immigration New Zealand are with the new system. So work to residence remains an option until that point, until they basically say that's it, this is the final date for WTR visas to be made. Excuse me. So for those who are looking at work to residence, well, once you have that work visa, or you've applied for that work visa, Immigration New Zealand won't remove your right to process that visa through to residence just because they're going to remove that visa type. So if you've got an application in place for work to residence and the next day they go, yeah, that's the final day, it's no longer available, the application you've got in place should continue as normal. You then do your several years once the visa's been granted for the accredited company, and then you can apply for residence. As long as all the other factors, of course, are met. The fact that they were going to remove that visa as an option won't impact those who have already applied for that visa. Now, finally, skilled migrant, as I said earlier on, there was nothing new. Now, we first heard about a review of the policies of skilled migrant back in May 2020. These were due for release later in the year, and we sort of started hearing rumours of what they were going to be. A lot of different rumours, never anything confident or sort of secure enough to think it's going to be true, but definitely a lot of things going around. Now, that was delayed, and we actually did have a session with Immigration New Zealand, another webinar late last year, which got cancelled literally an hour before it was due to take place. They cancelled the webinar and they delayed it to a further date, and we still have had nothing. So it was supposed to be released in last year, then it was delayed, and then delayed again, And with the Minister of Immigration's comments last week or the week before about wanting to review the skilled migrant process, it's going to mean more delays. We do expect something soon from the Minister, though that will be in relation to the EOI draws that were meant to start taking place in April. Our belief is that the recent announcement of another review of skilled migrant is just an excuse to further delay the draws of EOIs. It's been a year since the last draw. There has been a review already of the policies that took place last year. Starting another review just makes no sense and just seems like a delaying tactic. What it does mean is for those of you who have applications in the pool, today they said it was 7,000 applications. We've previously heard it was 9,000 plus applications. That was a couple of months ago, so we're not sure what the actual figure is. They will keep waiting. Their applications will still sit in the pool until the draws start. We'll know in the next few weeks if the EOI draws will restart in April, but we don't believe it is likely with the Minister saying he wants to do a review of skilled migrant. And that's about it from today's webinar. And honestly, I think I probably said more than I said in the webinar. It was very light on detail, kind of pointless at parts. But that's what they gave us. And we want to touch on one last thing before we leave this video. We want to touch on CPVVs and the Living Together standard, which has been an ongoing issue for a number of you, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. We've had some good communication this week with the border exception head at Immigration New Zealand, getting some more clarification on how Immigration New Zealand is applying its tests. Now, we've seen this as a moving target, a target that seems to be getting harder and harder for applicants as time goes by. An article in Stuff today about a couple in India doesn't really help, and it's just lazy journalism and makes no effort to find a solution or to find the problem. It's just the journalists using, sadly, the pain of migrants just to get some clicks. It doesn't actually look into what the how they are defining these this term of living together. And I asked the guy the last few weeks. We had a good discussion about that. We sort of go through it with you now, so you get a better understanding as to what Immigration New Zealand is seeing as being living together. Now, as I've said previously, CPVVs the rules, the operational manual doesn't actually refer to living together as being a requirement in the instructions. But Immigration New Zealand have taken the view that a relationship can only be seen as being genuine and stable when the couple has lived together, as living together places different stresses and tests on a relationship. Now, this doesn't match with couples who, due to religious or cultural reasons, haven't lived together, but it is the test where they are applying. So there's no point in us complaining about the test they are applying right now, because it is the test and we've got to sort of work within the boundaries that they have put in place. So what we're seeing from the Living Together standard is there's sort of three components. The first is that the person from New Zealand must not be maintaining a residence in New Zealand. So they can't sort of be living in India or anywhere else in the world. I say India because a lot of my clients are from there, but India or anywhere else in the world, but still have a home back in New Zealand. That's actually written down in the operational manual that you cannot be maintaining separate residences. You must have one residence for the two of you living together. So for a lot of our clients, it's about showing Immigration New Zealand that they no longer have their other residence, and that can be done in various different ways. The next one. So Immigration New Zealand want to see that the only place that both of them have is together in that one location where they claim to live. Now, the second is other connections to New Zealand. So if Immigration New Zealand sees someone who may no longer have a place to live in New Zealand, but they have a job in New Zealand that they're supposed to return to, then they will look at that time offshore as quite often being a visit or a holiday or a temporary stay, and it is then not living together because the person is not there living, they are there temporarily staying or visiting. So if you are sort of going offshore to fetch somebody and you have a job back in New Zealand, if you haven't lived together previously, before you're going across, this is going to be a big issue, especially if you're looking to come back into the country as a critical health worker bringing your partner with you. They are looking for that living together requirement, and I've said it before in my previous videos, before you leave the country, talk to an expert, talk to us, talk to one of the better immigration advisors, and say to them, what do you think? Do you think I'll get a shot with this evidence? It's better to ask that question and obviously pay a little bit of fees to get that answer before you run that risk, because if you're looking at using that time that you're overseas at that point as you're only living together sort of evidence, you're quite often going to be declined under the way they're now looking at these rules, because you have a job back in New Zealand you're going to go back to, and of course you can't claim you don't, because that is what you're coming back to New Zealand yourself on. And then finally, there is no minimum time period for how long you have to live together. The actual wording doesn't give a time period. We interpret it, as we have in the past for many years, as once you are living together, that's enough. But if you are living together, or we lived together previously, you need to sort of show that it wasn't a temporary thing. It was at least at the time, it was a reason that you're living together. There was no other place you were supposed to be. Now we raised this with the border exception head, and he gave us a good quote here in relation to one of our clients who has moved offshore to be with their partner. And we said to him, hey, they've been declined, can you have a look now as to the reasons why? And he said that the key for this couple would be to satisfy an immigration officer that they have committed to living together in a single residence and have done so for long enough to determine that they are in a genuine stable relationship. There is no set time frame for this, but there is no doubt that the passage of time helps. So it is something which, it isn't going to be that as soon as you have met that criteria, they're going to say, yep, that's fine, tick the box. They're going to look at all of the evidence, a holistic view. They're going to say, okay, how long was it? What other documentation have you got to show that you are living there? So if it is purely just some letters from some friends and family that you're living with them, that might not be enough if it's a short period of time. If you can show documents showing that you are there, that lease agreement, you can show. The other day I had a great one for a client who had a New Zealand post forwarding his mail off to the other country where he was now living. That was excellent evidence, because it showed that his mail from New Zealand was now going to where he was living offshore. So that was great evidence. If you watch this video, thank you for that. That was a genius idea. So there is no minimum time period, but it's a requirement for it to be long enough to prove that it's genuine and stable. So a couple of days isn't going to do it. A month might do it, depending on all the other factors. It could be several months, depending on the situation. There is no hard and fast rule. As I've said before, please don't be angry with Immigration New Zealand for these rules, as it's the government that sets these rules, and Immigration New Zealand is just asked to enforce them. So these people are doing a very hard job. Don't be angry at them. This is a government setting what these rules are, not Immigration New Zealand. And that is it for today. I am hoping to do a Q&A, question and answer session on another channel this evening. If I do that, I will post it up here afterwards, so just in case there's something in there that might be of use to you. As always, if you found this video useful, please click like, as it helps YouTube to sort of know that we want to spread this video out and let more people see it. If you want to keep informed on what is happening, please click subscribe, click that bell icon, you'll be notified of when there's new videos going up. We try and do one video a week. Don't try to overwhelm you with videos just for the sake of it, but only if there's something we really want to sort of let you all know of what is going on. And that is it for today. Until next time, kia kaha and stay safe.